just out of the generosity of their hearts. So thank you.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Gloria DiPiero, bringing you
PMQ's live here on GB News.
Whenever Parliament is in session on a Wednesday at midday, we'll bring you live coverage of Prime Minister's questions. We'll be asking our viewers and listeners to submit the questions that they would like to put to the Prime Minister, and we'll put that to our panel of top politicians in our Westminster studio.
That's PMQ's live here on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Good evening, it's 11 o'clock. I'm Lewis Mackenzie here in the GB newsroom. Now, the Prime Minister and the Health Secretary have said the new weight loss jabs could help boost the British economy and get people back into work. West Streeting suggested the latest medicines could be life-changing for individuals and would ease pressure on the NHS. But experts are insisting that the drug is not a quick fix, nor is it a replacement for eating well and exercising, and should only be offered under medical supervision. A court has been told that Sarah Sharif had to wear a hijab to hide her facial injuries that she received leading up to her death. The 10-year-old was beaten with objects, burnt with an iron and bitten in the weeks before she died. Her body was found in an upstairs bedroom at her home in Surrey last year after her father, Irfan Sharif, called the police and confessed to killing her after fleeing to Pakistan. The minicab driver is on trial along with Sarah's stepmother and uncle. They all deny murder and causing or allowing the death of a child. The police officer who shot Chris Cabba has told the Old Bailey he did not intend to kill him when he opened fired. Martin Blake told jurors that he intended only to stop the car Cabba was driving and was aiming for the centre of his body. Mr Cabba was shot in the head while driving in south-east London back in September of 2022. He died in hospital the next day. Mr Blake, a marksman for the Metropolitan Police, is accused of murder, which he denies. And finally, Thomas Tuchel has now agreed to become the new England manager. The former Bayern Munich head coach, who also won the Champions League with Chelsea in 2021, will succeed Gareth Southgate and become England's first ever German-born boss. I'm Lewis Mackenzie, and those have been your latest GB News headlines.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello, welcome to Headliners. It's your first look at Wednesday's newspapers. I'm Andrew Doyle, and tonight I'm joined by Josh Howie and Kerry Marks. How are you both?
Very well. How are you?
I'm reasonable.
You're saying your throat was you're very deep. You've gone through puberty.
You know, I was whinging to you off camera, but now you've made the whinging public.
Public,
brought it out. Why have you done that?
You as well. Your throat as well. I'm going to join the.
This is my sound. I've worked on it for years.
Okay, well,
slightly cropped.
I can be manly as well.
Yeah, I mean it's very sexy, Josh, when you do it.
Thank you.
But anyway,
before
we crack on, let's have a look at the front pages for Wednesday. So the Telegraph is leading with Reeves U-turn on dangers of NI rise. That's national insurance. The Independent there, increase national insurance and take on unions. Same story. The Express has got time is running out. I need your help to change cruel law. The Daily Mail has got now PM is engulfed by Swift furore. I assume that's Taylor Swift. The Guardian has got Minister vows to end scandal that left thousands of carers in debt. And finally, the Daily Star, some bizarre story about someone who cheated at a crossword or something. Those were your front pages. OK, first up, we're going to go with the Telegraph. They've got lots of news.
Yeah, lots of news. Very exciting stuff. We've got a new football manager guy.
Is that important?
It is, because he's from Germany.
Is that him there with the beer?
Yeah,
it's him.
German beer to show us he's German.
And he's wearing...
He may as well be wearing lederhosen. That's like a...
He is wearing lederhosen. He's literally wearing lederhosen.
I mean...
And that's how he's going to rub his face in it,
I think he's at a German market in Britain. You know, one of those Christmas markets.
Is the point of this to sort of say, you know, we forgive and forget... You know, it's all OK now.
2 world wars and 1 world Cup
Yeah,
or
is that what it's all
no more
about?
World Cups.
Or
I
is
don't
it just recognition that Germany's really good at football?
Well, they are good at football, aren't they? Is he particularly good as a man?
He's very efficient!
I was worried that you might do the accent. And I should have
I was
said...
worried he would do that.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I should have
sorry.
said before, don't do the accent.
Sorry, I apologise to
Can you
the,
do- can you-
and the German people.
No, actually, let's not go down the accent.
We better drop the story about the Chinese manager.
No,
No, he does a really good Chinese.
thank you.
He does.
I have been-
And what else is on the
hearing.
front cover of this?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yes, there's other stuff here. So Kemi Badenoch, she's saying the wrong leader could spell end for the Tory party. So this is Kemi Badenoch coming out for her opponent and saying, yeah, it's an interesting strategy.
It's a good move.
If I missed, I don't know if I've read that right, but yes, whatever. They've got a choice.
That's not much of a surprise, is it? I mean, we're down to two, that each one thinks the other one would be the worst leader.
Yeah.
That's not headline news, is it?
She could have meant any of her opponents.
Yeah.
But
the ones that are knocked out already.
Yeah, but it could, I mean, she's got a point. I think a lot of people want to see the Tories get their act together.
Yes, they do.
And be a unifying force.
Yes, but on the other hand, Jenrick and Kemi both sort of to the right of the party, and, they got rid of Cleverly, who was seen as the sort of wishy-washy centrist. So whatever happens, whatever the outcome, there's going to be quite a significant shift within the way the Tories do business. Isn't that right?
Yeah, totally. But it's also there was an interesting characteristic of the conference just been is that it went from what people had expected it to be, was accepting that they'd lost the election, they didn't stand a chance for a while, to with all the scandals going on and so on. There's a real feeling amongst the Tories that they might actually come back next election. So they're taking it from.
And they are the party of feelings.
They're all about the feelings.
They're about.
I mean, Starmer's making it very easy for them.
You decided?
He is making it easy for them. And then you could argue that Johnson and the plethora of Tory leaders have made it easy for Labour to get back in. So
true.
It's anybody's to play for.
So, Josh, what's this thing about Rachel Reeves?
Rachel Reeves. Well, turns out she is the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Yes, that's right.
Yes. Story done.
There we go.
Thank you very much. No,
what's this about national insurance?
U-turn on dangers of national insurance rights. So they were like, when they were in the election, they were like, we're not going to raise taxes, working people, because we're all about working. But what they're going to do is, you know what, we're going to do like a clever behind-the-scenes thing, increase national insurance contributions, which is meant to be paid for 80% by the employer.
Yes.
Except for the fact the employer is then going to pass that money into pay cuts for the employee. So it's just so confusing. But so we're all going to pay.
Is this not a bit Machiavellian?
Well, it's also interesting because when Rishi was planning on doing it, right?
She was angry, right?
She was angry.
So angry.
It's the worst possible tax rise at the worst possible time. And considering the narrative we're hearing right now, I don't see how this is now the best possible time.
No, it's a better time.
So,
I think that's what she's arguing.
Really?
It was awful idea now.
Now's a good time.
But now it's the best
22
idea.
billion back up. But it's gone with, we've gone for the thorny speech in the Rose Garden to the interview on the doorstep of number 10 with Keir Starmer saying that he's actually saying it's we won't rule it out, the national insurance rise, which is such an ominous certainty, isn't it? It's like you don't say I won't rule it out unless you're planning on doing it.
I think when you get into power, you should, or every comment you made about everything online and everywhere should be wiped.
Oh, absolutely. I would say that's a good idea for everyone.
For everyone,
I
yeah.
think wipe all of your old comments.
Straight, yeah. And
luckily, I've only ever said sensible things.
Yes, of course.
So it wouldn't matter with me.
No.
Someone like you, I've done my offence archaeology on you.
Yes.
Some of your old tweets are quite astounding.
It's pretty bad. And to be honest, some of the ones I wrote today.
Yeah.
They were.
And some of those old photographs.
I wouldn't run for Prime Minister if I were you.
No.
It's all going to come up.
Too many skeletons in that.
It's all to play for.
Let's move on to The Guardian. Are they focusing on anything more specific?
Ministers vow to end scandal that left thousands of carers in debt. So what this is we need to care about carers, I guess, because what we should do anyway. But carers who are unemployed applied for benefits, and it seems that there was some complications. I'm not quite sure what the complications in the rule were, but they got paid out more than they should have been.
Yes.
And then that money starts getting demanded back in ways that are forceful and a bit cruel. And it's being compared to the post office scandal.
Crikey.
Which I think it's one of those things where the law says if you're given the money that's not yours, you do have to pay it back.
You do.
Go into a shop and they give you too much change, whatever, then you're supposed to tell them. But I do think there should be a rule that if a few months have passed,
like a statute of limitations.
Time has gone. Yes, I think there should be if you reasonably thought it was yours and spent it.
But I think the thing was, it was like people literally going over the threshold by like a couple of quid. And then told, like, you owe us thousands of pounds. And these are people... It's hard being a carer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't know, but I've seen films.
I think Cut them some slack.
Yeah,
because of what they do.
exactly.
What about this story about undercover officer spied on Starmer?
Yeah. No. I'm really excited about the story because this undercover police officer. Well, he just
coming to argue with you today.
Thank you very much. He spied on him. He spied on him. Yeah. Now we don't know if that
spying on Starmer?
because Starmer used to be a lawyer, a human rights lawyer. Yeah. So we don't know in what way he spied on him. Did he seduce him, have some kind of affair?
Wait, you're saying the undercover officer might have had an affair with Starmer?
That's what I'm saying, and that's not what the paper's saying.
You're just making that up.
I'm just making it up.
There's no reason whatsoever to believe that.
I have seen films, and this is how those police officers work. They seduce.
Josh,
let's move out of the realm of fiction. Let's go out of fiction into fact. So
he spied on Starmer is the fact during the McLibel case,
using seduction.
Using seduction, apparently. Yes. Where it was McDonald's suing two environmentalists, handing out pamphlets and so on, which I think were proved to be fabrications, and McDonald's made a McBreakfast out of them, which caused a lot of upset. They were not a happy meal. You want any more of these?
Very good. This is good. You've got jokes. This is like
they're really not jokes. I'm just doing what the Sun would do.
Well, that's all jokes. Yeah. Let's move on now to the Metro, and they're talking about the weight loss drug. Now, it's called Ozempic, isn't it?
It's called Ozempic, but I believe there's all different. This is called Wegovy.
Yeah, I think that's a brand name, isn't it?
OK, fine. Yeah. I stand corrected. Labour's war on waste, and this is the plan to get people back into work by stopping them being fatties. But as I read somewhere else, people being overweight is not a factor in terms of why people are off work.
But it's not like
mental health,
to get to work,
back issues. There's lots of other stuff going on, and people being fat is not really one of them.
I've come here to argue, and that's what I'm going to do.
Go on then.
Well, you're fat and you're in work.
I knew this was coming up. Right, get outside. There was a study today showing that fat people work less.
No, that can't be true. I've seen.
It's obviously true.
There are fat people in every office.
Yes.
And good luck to them.
Yeah, and like
many.
Trevor at GBNews.
Trevor is huge.
He's a big fatty.
Right, and I hope he's not watching, but he's massive.
HR leave at 5 o'clock, so we're fine.
He's dangerously big.
Yeah.
And I think so. The thing is, you can work as a larger individual, and so this seems serious to me.
By the way, if there is someone at GBNews called Trevor, I'm in deep trouble.
Too late, and he's really fat as well.
Yeah, we don't see the morning shift. We never see anybody in the morning here, do we?
So, I saw this on the news report earlier, and all those sort of stock footage of, close-ups of people's bellies just walking through the town
That's
centre.
my screensaver.
Do they just do that? Do they ask permission to do that? Do they just sit there with a camera saying, oh, look at that fat jabber, I'll just get a shot of his waist?
It's odd, isn't it? I think you're allowed to film anyone, aren't you?
Are you?
Yeah, as long as they're not identified.
I think it's body shaming on a huge scale.
Yes, I think so too. And does that include bottoms?
I think anything like this. In fact, I don't know why Labour are fat-shaming the nation by saying they need to lose weight.
Yeah, but we do, because it's costing us billions of pounds, costing the NHS billions of pounds.
No, some people say that it has no effect.
It's not a war on... They're calling it a war on waste. They're spelling waste to make a play on words here, but it's not really a war, is it? They want to have this injection. They'll get it for free. No, end of the war, really.
Yeah, I guess that's it. OK, well, what about the Star? The Star, what is this? This is about a crossword?
Razor, my Daily Mail crossword shame. This is football legend cheated. I'm just reading it. Cheated at world's toughest puzzle to con unsuspecting teammates. We're not sure what he did here.
He cheated at
a puzzle.
At the Daily Star. Do you do crosswords?
They do one on the back, don't they?
Yeah, they do. But do you do crosswords?
Would you call it a crossword in the Daily Star? I very much doubt it.
Yeah, it'd be like big words like...
like two, big.
Yeah, big.
Hello.
Whatever.
So this guy, I don't know who he is, but he cheated at it.
How dare... And that...
Some bloke we don't know cheated in a way we don't know at a thing we don't fully understand.
What a great...
This is awful.
I'm glad
this is the low point of the Daily Star, and even though people would argue this is the low point for us, we need to hold Daily Star to account.
We do. We're doing the job.
That's our job.
It's a tough job, but we've got to do it. Well, anyway, those are the front pages. Do join us as we move on to the next level with a leadership debate, male worklessness, and AI going nuclear. See you in a couple of minutes.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Tell us about this film, because it's obviously come from your own experiences.
We wanted to create something for the entertainment industry that wasn't just another kind of dull documentary. Some of them are brilliant, they're very informative, but you kind of leave a bit bewildered and a little bit kind of flat. So we thought, I've got a passion for writing and you've obviously got an unbounded knowledge on the subject. Why don't we create a film with a kind of satirical look on eating disorders.
So this came it's been made 20 years after your own...
It is 20 years.
20 years,
practically to the day.
So Samantha, you suffered with OCD and an eating disorder as well?
Yes.
And that's when your mum became a counsellor, is that right?
A little bit later on, I think we spent a bit of time in the system and I realised that it wasn't working for us. So I took it on myself to learn as much as I could about the subject.
I call it a tragedy, probably the wrong word, but
no, it is a tragedy because mental ill health and eating disorders destroy the lives of not only the sufferers but their families as well.
But you've turned that into something so positive and so
It's amazing, really, that 20 years ago our story was just beginning, and 20 years on, we've done what we've done. But I have to say that very little has changed in the system.
I've heard that.
And I think that's what we're passionate about.
Yeah, so...
That was why we wanted to... I mean, I work with families every day and I see the destruction that eating disorders and other mental illnesses not just bring to the sufferer but the whole family.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really passions me because obviously 20 years ago we were there. And I just feel that so much more needs to be done. And I think with eating disorders, there is still a lot of misunderstanding around the subject.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm celebrated author Andrew Doyle and I'm joined by celebrated book readers Josh Harry and Kerry Marks. Let's start with Wednesday's Times. Time to rejoin the EU.
Yes, EU set to approve deportation camps for failed asylum seekers. So this sounds suspiciously like the Rwanda plan.
It sounds exactly like the Italian-Albanian plan.
Rwanda. Yeah, well, they're not allowed to say Rwanda.
Well, the Albanian plan, though. But that's what Maloney does.
Yes, so this is what... So Maloney's plan has come into fruition today, and then the EU are having a big meeting.
And they think it's a good idea.
Ursula van der... and there's lots of quotes here of them, like, just 2-3 years ago going, you should never do this, this is the worst thing that could ever happen. And now everybody's like, yeah, maybe we need to...
but why do they think it's the worst thing? I mean, it wasn't that long ago that the EU were paying Libyan warlords to keep people out of Britain.
Well, I think they still are doing that, but I think people have suddenly noticed an increase in crime, and worse than that, of course, their populations are noticing changes.
Demographic change,
but also changes not just to the demographics, but to the entire system. And so...
Are you saying that if you import different cultures at too great a rate, it can have some sort of negative effect?
Yes. Well, the question is also whether it's importing it or allowing it or whatever, because it's not about asylum necessarily. It's more about the fact that for the people whose asylum claims are rejected, 20% of those people... only 20% actually leave.
Right.
Or, so we have these cases like in Germany where someone who was technically deported or meant to have been deported murdered someone or murdered a couple of people. Right. And there's a few instances
but what's so
like
wrong
that.
With having an offshore processing centre? What's wrong with that?
Well, there's offshore processing, but there's also, this would be the people who don't get the asylum claims.
Yes.
They then are sent there.
I see.
That's the idea. But this is the funny thing. The audience might not think this is funny, but they are talking about making the countries that want to be part of the EU as the locations for this outsourcing thing.
Yes.
So that they will then get fast-tracked to joining, but then they're going to join, and then they're going to have all of the people there, and then they'll just be able to walk into the EU.
Is this a deliberate scheme?
No, I don't know. I'm saying I thought it through. I'm an idiot. I'm a stupid idiot comic, and I have already found the hole in the system.
Do you trust the EU, Kerry?
I think it's interesting they're taking this path now. This is changed very fast in a few years. We've gone from completely deaf ears to this being imperative. Which is quite interesting, and also because this is coming from Ursula von der Leyen, who's like the 13th president of the European Commission, who the present president, who is now backing the Italian plan.
Yeah, they all hate
Albania, which is quite a leap, really. We've done a complete roundabout on that one. It's kind of odd article here. We start by they're calling them return hubs, which I think is the new nice term for it. But have you noticed on the last page here? It suddenly says will include new rules, including the use of decoration camps. Sounds very suspicious. I don't know what that means. Whether it's they sit around with paintings and doing a bit of potatoes,
paper mache.
Kind of thing.
But also this article quotes Jean-Claude Juncker in 2018, saying that this precise scheme would actually breach international refugee conventions.
Yeah.
So what's changed? The conventions haven't changed.
Well, now Juncker's come out for it.
Right.
That's what's changed.
OK, so it's just people have changed their minds.
Yes.
So what
now it's
what
fine.
was once a hideous evil is now an absolute necessity.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
That's how it works. That's how it works.
It's also that those who are against it don't seem to be making any other suggestions about what to do.
Well, what do you do?
That's wrong. Well, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Maybe what they should have done in the first place is allowed people to come in, but said, look, if you come in, we have to assimilate. And, we've got certain standards and we've got certain ways of living.
You're crazy, man.
That could have worked.
Crazy.
Madness.
It could have worked. Anyway, let's move on now to the Daily Mail. And Kerry, how do we know this story about misinformation from abroad isn't misinformation from abroad?
Exactly, Andrew. Nothing is true anymore. Nothing. We don't know anything. I don't even know if I'm real anymore. So it's about the Southport stabbings, but rather about the misinformation that followed it.
Yes.
And here we're finding out that, so it's this guy. It's a guy called Silvano Trotto, who's being mostly mentioned here.
Only Fools and
Online
Horses.
activist.
Oh, it's him, is it?
Yeah.
Is that Trotter? Is he? Or have you just heard the word Trotter and there's only one example you've ever heard of?
Yeah, that's it.
The Trotter family. It's a big family.
He's based in Strasbourg in France, and he's spread on social media misinformation about these stabbings.
Yeah.
And it's turned out that a lot of misinformation was spread from abroad. Not mentioned in here was also a guy who was arrested in Pakistan. He was called Mr. Asif, and he had a website, or part of a website called Channel 3 Now, which I believe was the first instance of someone saying it was a migrant.
But we have this a lot. I mean, we have to remember that the internet is a global thing. I mean, we had this when there were those racist tweets about the football during the Euros, and it turns out the vast majority of those, because everyone was saying, look, this proves how racist
like 90%.
But virtually all of them were from abroad. So shouldn't we just assume that this is going to be the case?
Yeah, sure, but I think we've got to face the fact that with the internet and social media now, we're very vulnerable to this, more than we probably ever have been in history. Someone can write something on the other side of the world, and we're having a riot over here.
But the thing is, are not the rioters themselves responsible for the riots? I don't think you can blame, I saw a tweet and so I went out and smashed up someone's house. I think it's about individual agency. What do you think?
Yeah, no, that sounds fair enough. I do think it's also, by the way, I just want to say, I think it's somewhat ironic that even our racism is being outsourced.
We've got to move on now. We're going to the Telegraph. And will GB News be the only place to watch a Conservative leadership debate?
Let's hope so. BBC locked in row with Conservatives over leadership debate. And this is because the BBC the Conservatives want to choose half of the audience as Tory voters, and the BBC said, well, we should also have some other voters in, like Reform.
Why?
But because it's like a spectrum, because it will have impact the whole country. This is true. Public.
But aren't the Tories basically saying it should be the people who can vote?
Yes.
In this particular context.
But I'm going to side with BBC News. This is the only time you'll ever get me to side with BBC News at the moment. I think that 50% beat Tory voters and then the rest of broad spectrum. I think it seems somewhat fair.
Why is this a deal breaker?
Well, surely the non-Tories in the audience are going to be against both of them.
Right.
I don't quite get the point of them. I think it's necessary for them to be there for their leader debate, finally, but not for the leader of the Conservative Party.
But then don't you want to see how your leader is going to be impacted by being questioned by an opposition type
that would be
person.
good.
Throw them in the fire.
No, we're beyond that stage already now. I disagree with you. Everything you say is wrong.
OK, well, fair enough.
Is that what you're just going to be contrarian tonight?
He is, because he saw an argument on telly last night.
And you enjoyed it?
In headliners.
That's the way this programme should be.
Oh, yeah.
He was
if you don't agree, then I'm going to get angry.
Channeling Dana Alexander.
Well, I don't agree with that.
By the way, but you can tune in on Thursday to GB News and watch the Conservative debate here. That one's been agreed.
I think they should choose their audience like the Americans choose juries. You know, with each of them says they question each member of the audience and see if they're going to vote for them or not.
Yes.
Then bring them in. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Go the American system.
Well, I know where I'm going to be Thursday night watching...
Where are you going to be?
Right here watching GB News.
All right, you've done your job now.
OK,
all right, it's all done. Let's move on. More Telegraph. Carey, if you can be bothered telling us about this story.
Britain's record biggest jump in what have we done well in? I'll tell you. Male worklessness.
Yes.
We have jumped in the G7. We're right up there
So
now.
we are the number one worklessness country. We are nailing worklessness.
Have we stopped saying unemployed? Have we,
I like worklessness.
The worklessness.
Yeah, it's such a silly sounding word.
Isn't it?
How's the worklessness going
I'm one
on?
of the great worklessness.
We're trying to get out of worklessness.
So more men than women are, and there's increasing. But everyone should be happy about this. They're closing the wage gap by men stepping out of work.
Are they just lazy? Is that what's going on?
No, it's what they realise is that robots are going to do it eventually anyway. It seems pointless.
So you're saying men are cleverer than women?
I'm saying they've realised that. And also
Interesting.
what they've realised
Controversial.
is if men do not work and do not do the dishes and so on, women will always step up.
Yes.
Well, there we go.
And that's what we know.
Is this not the case? Is this since the pandemic when everyone realised that they didn't like working?
I think that's part of it, but then why would that impact men more? More somewhat scary than that is that it's 16 to 24-year-olds is a big part of that, and 100,000 of the 493,000 are just people who've done it since the pandemic. So I guess what I'm trying to say is what's not mentioned in this article is this kind of this generation being told. Of young men being told that they're useless and that they're toxic masculinity and all this. And I wonder...
That makes a difference?
I wonder if it does, and they're kind of going, you know what, I'm going to opt out, and yeah, women should run the world and you can do all the work. That's always been my philosophy.
I'm going to argue that is mentioned in this article, actually.
Is it though?
It's not.
Well,
are you just arguing for the sake of
academic
arguing?
Richard Reeves, author of Boys and Men, has warned of a silent crisis brewing amongst boys and men in our classrums, workplace, and communities.
He doesn't say why.
He doesn't go into the detail.
He doesn't mention toxic masculinity.
No. But
Which
these are the theories we've got on here. First of all, there's this big plunge in male work. The pandemic is one of the explanations. The other one is that long-term decline of Britain's industrial sector. Explanation 3 is to do with changes in more people becoming self-employed. Explanation 4 is more interesting, with Mel Stride warned that access to online pornography and video games.
Or is it just that boys are lazy? I mean, could it just not be that?
No,
well,
I think that they've just...
lazy, or if it's the pornography, they're being busy.
I just don't think they've been inspired.
OK, well,
my theory.
Let's move on.
Pornography.
Terrifying news in The Guardian. Josh, this is now AI and nuclear power hooking up.
Yes.
Worst possible combination.
It's terrible. Google to buy nuclear power for AI data centres in world first deal. So cloud computing and AI use up huge amounts of electricity, and essentially these private companies are now buying their own mini nuclear reactors to power them, and that seems mental.
I want a mini nuclear reactor. It sounds so cute, doesn't
But also it's weird, isn't it? It is very cute.
All right, what could possibly go wrong?
Indeed.
The two biggest threats to human life as we know it, marry them, put them together, see what happens. Good idea, idiots. I can't stand scientists playing God.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I love this.
That's what they're doing. You never see him get this passionate.
I didn't even believe it was possible, but there we go. No, this is a great idea, and it's because, you know, AI uses up a hell of a lot of energy, you know.
I just said that.
No, but I'm adding to this. I'm reinforcing your point.
I have already done the science bit.
Yes, but I was mentioning that, did you know that if you just send up one question to an AI bot like ChatGPT, that uses the same amount of energy as chasing an elephant uphill with a whisk?
Well, why can't we just do that?
I don't know.
That's much more productive.
I reinforce.
Did you get that joke from AI?
No, I researched that as a fact.
With AI.
Fact.
Well, AI, could you write me a joke for GBNews?
Have you heard of Armageddon, Carey?
I have heard of Armageddon, but it's not going to happen this way because nuclear has become very, very safe now, and all the arguments against it have lost energy.
Wow.
And frankly,
You've fallen for the Kool-Aid.
No, Blair's government rejected nuclear back in, back in his day, and one of the reasons they said is because it wouldn't produce any energy until 2020. We've been rolling in it.
And what
right
about
now.
the killer robots who can think for themselves?
I like killer robots. Have you ever met one? Yep. They're much nicer than you think. They're like killer whales aren't that dangerous. They've been misnamed. I feel more neutron than proton about this whole thing. How about you?
Very good. I'm going to get my own nuclear. I want to replace my boiler. I'm not going to get one of these heat pumps. I want to have like a new mini nuclear device. Yeah, to work all.
And a robot doing all your chores.
Yeah, fine. Whatever.
Good. We've got all these atoms lying around doing nothing. We could be splitting them and fusing them and living good.
OK, well, we're halfway now. On that note, we've got many fine stories to come back to, including Stonewall hitting a wall, the Amish-Trump alliance, and Blue Nose Day. See you in a minute.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Rain for many of us during the rest of the night into tomorrow as well. That rain heavy at times, but it will be very mild because we've got air coming from the south at the moment with low pressure to the west, high pressure to the east, and that southerly airflow bringing extensive low cloud across the UK, so a gloomy night to come with outbreaks of increasingly heavy rain moving up from the southwest into parts of Wales, the Midlands, then northern England, southern Scotland as well as Northern Ireland. Could be some issues for Northern Ireland overnight as well as parts of Wales and Western England, localised flooding, and by dawn transport disruption is possible because of the heavy nature of the rain. But it will be on and off rain and it's not going to be heavy everywhere, certainly for the far north of Scotland. That's where we're going to see the finest weather as we start off Wednesday. Caithness, Orkney, some bright spells, mostly dry, but for the rest of Scotland it's overcast and we've got outbreaks of rain moving north. Some heavy rain around for Cumbria into the Isle of Man, North Wales as well as parts of Northern Ireland. Turning more showery across the rest of Wales and the southwest of England, and for much of the Midlands and the south of England, although cloudy, it is mostly dry. There will be some sunshine though making an appearance for parts of East Anglia into the southeast, perhaps London. And as a result of that, well, temperatures will do remarkably well for the time of year, up to 20 to 22 Celsius. 15 to 18 further west, but not feeling very pleasant with a brisk breeze and those outbreaks of rain, heavy at times. By Thursday morning, the wettest weather is moving east and north. Clearer skies follow from the west, albeit with some showers for parts of Northern Ireland, Wales and Western England. Brightening up there for the east of the UK later in the day, but we've got relatively fresh air following after the rain, so temperatures will be starting to slip away.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home?
Talking about?
Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy.
Man of the people.
It's all vibe. Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. It's your first look at Wednesday's newspapers, and we're going to kick off, Kerry, with the Telegraph. And is this the grift that has run out of steam?
Yes, this is the story of the rise and fall of wishful thinking pseudoscience. This is the story of intimidation not really working as a temporary method to replace science and debate, and it's all falling apart slowly. So I will tell you the headline here. I hesitate doing this story because I know I'm going to hear you two cheering and blowing trumpets and bringing out champagne and stuff, and it's going to happen. It's Stonewall's gravy train has come to an end.
Well, look, I know that Josh is happy about this.
Yes.
I mean, your Andrew Doyle is literally has single-handedly destroyed Stonewall.
I think you've
Is that
done your
right?
part.
I'd say...
You did your part. I'll tell you quickly the story. It's their Diversity Champions programme, which in its heyday was bringing in membership fees of $3,000 a year. That can't be right.
Yeah, 3,000 for
millions
per company.
Of pounds in income for the charity.
Yeah.
Sorry, 3,000 would be nothing.
Yeah,
But
no, they've been making millions, and they had their Workplace Equality Index, which was a total racket.
Yes.
It's basically pay us money and we'll give you a higher ranking on our own chart saying that you're full of diversity. Whereas actually what they were doing is just eroding women's rights and gay rights.
Totally, and now it's all falling apart, and very soon all the people who use terms like uterus carriers and insisted that young girls can make decisions to have their breasts cut off are all going to be making one big apology.
No, well, we'll see, won't we?
That's going to happen.
Josh, is it going to happen, or do you think lots of people are just going to say, oh, no, I knew all along this was bad?
Yeah, it's going to be... It's so frustrating even now people are still clinging to things. But so lots of people are pulling out of this scheme.
Yes.
I think this is actually a good time to get into the scheme, especially if you are homophobic.
Yeah,
like, particularly, you'll be like the last person there. I'm trying to think of someone who's like really homophobic or a homophobic organisation.
Stonewall.
OK, so Stonewall, and then they can then give themselves the award for the least homophobic thing.
Yeah.
Even though the most homophobic. So the question also, should there be some kind of reparations? Because a lot of companies, they've made a lot of decisions, they've cost a lot of money implementing these recommendations.
Well, they've also been, let's face it, Stonewall has been misrepresenting the law, or has been accused of misrepresenting the law. And that's been a big problem for a lot of companies because they've ended up being sued by the people who they've harassed for being gender critical, and they've all lost because it's against the law.
So should they sue Stonewall?
Well, it's been tried, hasn't it? And it didn't work last time, so it might happen. I don't know.
But I think wherever they stood on it, I think Stonewall started off with good intentions.
Sure, before 2015.
Absolutely, yeah. But then it just went way astray because they had too much leeway to make any claims they liked, and the force of the people backing them, the companies that showed interest and so on, has allowed them to get away with an awful lot. So.
Because they used to fight for gay rights, and once gay rights were achieved, they went on to this idea of gender identity, which is the thing that doesn't exist. And they tried to promote a pseudo-religious belief system in the workplace, in the corporate world, with huge success.
Well, exactly. Well, Simon Fanshawe, friend of the show, friend of you, friend of ours, one of the first headliners.
Friend of mine, then.
Friend of yours, OK.
Well.
He said, it's now become a signifier about whether you're compliant with a certain set of ideological views. And that's exactly what they did. If I may be slightly more indulgent than normal, I had a big argument with someone on Twitter this week about exactly this, saying how the NHS was erasing the word women. And he was saying, and I just showed loads of examples. It talks about it specifically here, how the NHS removing the word women from their websites and information materials.
Yes.
This guy then turns out he's called Lee Marlowe. He's a journalist lecturer, and ha.
Yeah, he was wrong.
Yeah. So what are you going to do about that?
Well, I'm glad you're using the show to settle your Twitter scores. That's what it's all about, Josh. Anyway, let's move on to the Daily Mail. And luckily, Josh, this word has never been used to refer to you.
No, indeed. I'm very lucky because, and we'll explain why. No wonder the BBC want to ban the word talent. Tim Davie outlaws phrase as broadcaster suffers another rocky week. Now, I've been on both sides of this particular thing. In the industry, I work in the industry, everybody, and we call it the people like you and me sometimes are called the talent. And they go, oh, there's a talent here. But I've been on both sides because I've started in production.
Yeah.
So actually, it's a derogatory term.
Yes.
Like when you're like, oh, there's a tax talent, talent is idiots.
Like it's a joke.
Yeah, well, it's not a joke. It's just like, it's sort of like, it's said in an ironic fashion, not like ha-ha, but just like, you know, the talent are usually quite stupid and can't
not talented.
make their own tea and whatever. Yeah, I mean, look at you. You're there. What are you the talent? What, you could scroll and read some stuff? Am I talented? You're the talent.
Definitely on this show at the moment.
Yeah, so I don't like being called the talent, even though I've got little talent. But the point is, the BBC now, because they don't want to call it talent, they want to replace it with pedos.
I think that's wrong, Josh. What are they going to do with Britain's Got Talent, or is that not BBC?
Britain's Got pedos.
Britain's Got pedos, yeah.
That's ITV.
It's exactly what it says here. That's what they're going to do, yeah.
Kerry, more sensible.
What do you want tonight?
Coffee.
Too much coffee.
Do you want to give the contrary view, since you're being a contrarian?
Oh, yeah, OK. I like the word talent. I think it's a very nice word. I think it separates the talent from the people who are, just doing their jobs and running things.
I actually don't understand it,
they're the management and the talent.
But why is he doing it?
No, but this is the thing. This is replacing a word to try and get rid of a thing. To try and, to say... you've got these scandals going from Hugh Edwards down to... The rest of the article is all minor offences. Someone might have had his his hand on someone's waist during
Well,
a
what's all this got to do
Strictly
with
Come Dancing thing. And really, the Strictly Come Dancing thing is the thing they've got to change the wording of.
Well, I think the talent historically are indulged.
No, but I mean, why not just eliminate groping people in the workplace rather than the word talent?
Well, this is what they're doing. They're doing this. They're doing a zero tolerance approach to unacceptable behaviour, and it's going to kick in for next spring.
What?
If you believe it, do it now. If you believe it, do it now.
You know what?
But it's also, if you're going to stop calling me talent, therefore I won't make an off-colour joke because I'm not the talent, so I can't do that. What is this going to do?
It's also quite offensive. There's a lot of talented people at the BBC, to be fair.
Yeah.
They didn't all sleep their way to the top like you, Josh.
No, but then I got kicked out.
Anyway, let's go on to this one. This is the Amish news now in the Telegraph. And has there newfound support for Trump because they have the same haircut?
Yeah, it's exactly that reason. It's about the Amish stopping putting their faith in God and instead putting it in Donald Trump.
Why?
Which some would say there's a thin line. Why?
It's because of milk.
Because in the elections, the Amish vote is a miss. And so this guy, thank you, there's a little wordplay there, is trying to do something about that.
But they don't vote, do they?
No, they don't
usually vote.
That's what I mean, a miss. So Scott Presler...
I think it's a pun on Amish.
Right, this is how the article talks about Scott Presler, a giant man of 6'5" tall, his lustrous hair falling in great waves down to his waist. He's wearing runner's shorts, showing off his long tan legs. And
is this a Telegraph article or a Mills and Boon novel?
This is someone who's clearly in love with the guy. Get a room, seriously.
So wait a minute,
whoever wrote this.
So this guy is trying to lure the Amish, who traditionally do not vote, to vote for Donald Trump because of a dispute over milk.
Yeah, unpasteurised milk.
Explain.
Someone made some unpasteurised milk and maybe some people got a bit sick and then the authorities got involved. Now, the whole point about being Amish is that you sort of exist outside of... You're meant to exist in sort of nature realm and God, and they don't watch telly and all of that. But so the authorities getting involved has got everybody's backs up about it. And the crazy thing is that this incident could actually decide the leader of the free world.
Because it's Philadelphia.
It's Philadelphia.
We're
talking about, a couple of thousand votes here. There's 60,000 votes. If they can get 20,000 votes...
From the Amish?
Then it could well swing it.
But the Amish don't have TVs, right? They don't follow the election at all. This is their only subject.
Well, that's Trump's advantage. No one will ever have seen him.
All they know
speak.
they know nothing of him other than raw milk.
So the Amish could actually swing the whole election. They could decide the future of everything.
Of the planet.
Of the planet.
Yeah.
I think it's very unlikely. It's a feasible scenario, but this guy's group is trying to convince them. It's called Early Vote Action, and he says they will lay on the buses. I don't know whether it means that they'll be providing buses for the Amish, or whether it means they're going to lie on the floor.
They can't take
They're going to lie on the
buses.
floor of the buses.
They should be laying on the wagons.
They're laying on the buses for the very Amish.
Well, then he's messed up. Why is it up to us to figure out everybody else's job?
You can't
get the wagons on. Get the horses.
It might be a horse-drawn bus.
Have you not seen Witness?
Oh, no.
No, because you need a TV.
Why are you going to Witness rather than Kingpin?
Isn't Witness the traditional Amish film?
Yeah, but Kingpin is a much better, I would
about
reference.
bowling?
Yeah, but within the Amish community, it's much funnier.
I'd forgotten that bit.
Yeah, that's a much better
All I
film.
remember is the bowling.
You don't remember the bit where he milks the cows and then it's not a cow, it's a bull?
No.
And he's drinking?
Didn't make an impression on me, Josh.
I think you imagined that bit.
That's the funniest bit in the film. That's where he's drinking thing and then he's like, oh, we don't have any cow.
Never happened.
Right, Josh has lost his mind. We're moving on now to The Guardian now. And is this why you left your previous career as an art world superstar?
Indeed. Male artists such as Damien Hirst, less of a force after 40, says Tracy Emin. This is in the Louis Theroux podcast. And she's basically saying that women, and she's sort of making an allusion to women sexually, how they can keep on going.
Yeah.
And how men kind of peak too soon. There could well be truth to this. I wonder if men with testosterone and maybe more fearless and will make these jumps at an earlier age and then they're in their 40s, they chill out. Whereas women, and she's saying women artists here, like female art might be slightly different and be able to go into...
I don't buy it.
Oh,
She's basically saying Damien Hirst, after 40, isn't an exciting artist anymore. He could pickle a shark well into his 70s.
Well, that's the point. He's doing the same stuff over and over again. He took those mental, creative leaps as a young man.
Yeah, but it wasn't good when he was young.
Well, I don't know. There are people who...
This isn't a study, is it? She's taking one man...
No, she's just saying...
One man and saying he doesn't seem to be producing much...
I think there could be truth.
All men. She actually says here... She added that men sort of peak in their 40s, whilst women just tend to come and come and come and come. And I think she's right about that. I've experienced some of those women.
For goodness sake, I don't like this.
I didn't know what she was getting at.
She's wrong anyways. I mean, some great artists
You're
Monet.
You're just taking offence to this because you think you're an artist.
You know what I think it is? I think she's talking about a very specific kind of art. She's part of that whole conceptual art world.
Pretentious.
Right? Pretentious stuff, which is all about fashion. It's just about fashion.
Yeah.
And obviously people who get older fall out of fashion. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. But she's saying women still keep on creating really good art. But look, you know more. All those people you said sound really good.
How do you know if it's good in that world? You can just put a bucket out.
Did you just say Monet sounds really good?
I don't know. Yeah, that's the painter, right? How old did he? How old did he live to?
He lived up to 91, I think.
Oh, man, this is the problem with Andrew doing the show. He knows everything.
How about Constable?
I don't know how old. What did he get hit by a bus?
No.
Am I thinking of someone else?
I don't know.
No, anyway.
I don't know. I thought we were just naming painters now.
I know painters.
Turner was pretty old.
Gillian O'Keeffe.
How old was Turner?
I don't know how old, but I think he was pretty old. I don't think he died. I don't think he stopped at the age of 40.
This is a rubbish quiz.
Michelangelo. And Leonardo.
Yeah. But they were old, doddery.
Quite old for his time.
Yeah.
OK, fine. All right, well, you're wrong, Tracy.
Well, you know.
Yeah, Tracy. What are you on about?
Let's move on to We've got the final section to go. We've got some supreme silliness, including the steel conkers, squabbling pilots, and robot sharks. So, see you in a minute.
Conservative MPs have finally chosen their top two for the leadership. And now, it's over to the members. Join me, Christopher Hope, on Thursday as Kevin Badenoch and Robert Jenrick are quizzed by Conservative Party members and myself at our GB News leadership event.
And afterwards, join me, Patrick Christys, with a live studio audience and a star panel as we discuss what it means for the Conservative Party and what it means for you. Decision time, the race to lead, from 7 p.m. this Thursday, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Welcome back to Sunday with Michael Portillo. Well, drinkers have been warned about a drop in the quality of French wines after poor weather conditions hit this year's grape harvest. Winemakers across France will make 240 million fewer bottles of wine this year, the country's farming ministry said on Tuesday. So should we think of switching from French to English? I'm joined now by sommelier and founder of Inflorescence Wines, Jacinta Madison-Williams. Hello, Jacinta.
Good morning.
Nice to see you. First of all, let's just think about the poor French.
We should.
Has this been a fairly universal weather catastrophe for France?
It has. A kind of across the board, we're about 22% down on last year's crops, which is quite significant. I think it's like one of the 4 years over the last century that have been this low. So.
And it's affected both quality and quantity?
I would say more so quantity. There's always ways of counteracting quality. It depends if people are desperate to make wine. They can obviously push out more watered down grapes. There's been a lot of rain, if you hadn't noticed. Not only in France, we felt it here too. But lots of frost, supercell hailstorms have completely wiped out some crops. So in some cases, there's nothing to make. In other cases, it's just really watered down grapes and you want to pick earlier to make sure you're avoiding all those rains. But I would say more so it's quantity. But saying that, France is still the biggest producer of wine in the world. It might be taken over by Spain this year, but as a consumer, don't panic. We're not going to run out of wine. And we obviously have lots of lovely wine growing here now in England. So whether we do make a little jump for a bit to English wine, but there's definitely still lots out there.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Nightmare commute? Kick it up a gear with GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+ and on the GB News app. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player apps. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with GB News Radio. We are the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Headliners. Let's get straight back into it with Wednesday's Telegraph now. And you'd be surprised what old junk can be found in a garage.
Indeed. Funeral directors are free to keep dead bodies in their garage. Now, this is one of those stories that you think, this is going to be really funny, and then you start reading it and you're like, bleh. So I don't even want to bring up the... But there was an inquiry into some pretty grim stuff. But it turns out that the funeral industry doesn't have any kind of... officialness.
But you must.
What
You
is
can't
that
be
word?
allowed to take the dead bodies home and put them in your fridge.
Well, I think the point is that there's no like licensing for being a whatever their funeral home.
Okay.
So they're saying that there should be some sort of watchdog or.
This is because a necrophilia. It's not a rude word.
No, I know, but we don't want to go into the. It's horrible.
Well, yeah, but people have to know what the story is about.
Okay,
John.
there's just some stuff with bodies.
There's a guy who did some horrible things with dead bodies, and they're blaming the policies of funeral directors, basically, rather than the guy doing the horrible things with the bodies.
Finally, the rights of dead people are being discussed, and this very marginalised group
especially
having their rights
as zombies are real.
Yeah, I mean, it's why haven't our mediums told us about this?
Well, quite.
All our psychics. Why haven't they told us this is going on? They must have known about it. Keeping it for themselves. Some of them are keeping bodies in their garage, which I don't have a big problem with. That makes sense. It's where the hearse is, isn't it?
Depends what you're doing with it.
I mean, if they're keeping it in a shed,
but are they keeping it cold?
Drag it across.
There's decomposing bodies.
Do you know what? I'm putting an end to this. This is making me feel ill. Let's move on to this Conker story, Kerry.
Now, can't we go on about the dead bodies?
No, let's talk about Conkers. This is the World Conker Championships.
This is a horror story that people cheat. A man might have cheated at a Conker, the World, and this is the World Conker Championships, which are now apparently in turmoil. And none of us can stand a Conker cheat. I'm sure you feel the same.
Well, I mean, I haven't known any since I was 10.
Really?
But they were pretty...
Yeah.
Did you never cheat?
No.
You never dipped a conker in glue?
No.
What?
You never put it into a...
You did it. What about the boil, when you put it in the oven? That was cheating.
Look, okay.
I didn't know about the glue.
Here's the thing. One of the methods was to keep it in a dark drawer for a few weeks, and then eventually it becomes really strong.
Yeah.
And a while ago when I cleaned my house, when I was doing a house move, discovered a conker I have now had for about 50 years.
Are you going to enter into the competition?
I think I'll win.
I mean, this is you may as well just paint a stone the colour of a conker.
Well, this is it. He had a steel thing in his pocket. Exactly like that.
He had a steel conker. So his name's David Jakins. He's 82, which I think we should make some allowances for.
Yeah.
And he has won the World Conker Championship.
With a rock?
No. He says not. But his opponent, Alistair Johnson Ferguson, 23, who lost to Jakins in the men's final. But basically, he runs this competition. And then he takes part in his own competition, right? So this guy who thinks he's cheated said he was astonished when his conker broke in the first hit of the match. Like he can't believe his conker would have broke, so he thinks it must.
Well, I'm outraged.
The metal conker. Your vote on this, John?
Well, I think it's weird because this guy who runs the competition, who did win with this, who had this steel thing, he's never won before in 25 years of running it.
It's suspicious.
But part of me thinks so. Maybe he's 82. Let him win this. Win in the competition.
Maybe he's got good in 82 years. Maybe he finally at that level.
Yeah.
And did you know that conkers used to be called conquerors, and they just shortened it and everyone forgot?
No. And is that where they got conquerors from?
Yeah. Conkers.
So did you go to a conqueror tree?
Well, no, because the conkers aren't a thing. They're chestnuts.
OK, so we didn't call them conquerors.
No one's ever called them.
But do they call them conquerors after? But which came first? The conquerors
came first.
Like conquerors, the people.
No, the game is conquerors because you conquer the other person.
Oh, I see. So but the word conqueror came first. Yes. Then it. Okay, yeah.
And it became conquer.
Oh, wow! Look,
drafts didn't.
Andrew really knows a lot.
Why are we talking about this?
Is that like
logical nonsense?
Is that your third or fourth book?
What, book on conquerors?
Yeah.
Definitely want to do that.
So
listen, we've got time for one more story. I think this is the Mail with the dangers of single-sex spaces.
Indeed. Furious passenger jet captain locks his female co-pilot out of the cockpit after flying to a rage when she went for a toilet break mid-flight. Pilots should not go to the toilet. She left him alone and he got very... he got lonely.
No, you meant to leave her. You meant to leave her.
Yeah, you meant to call in, but I don't know that you meant to call in one of the hostesses or hostess.
Well, they can't fly a plane.
Well, I know, so it's ridiculous. But the point is, if there was one person in there, they could lock the door and do something crazy. So it's meant to always be two people in there.
Right.
And then he shut the door and said, "No, you're not coming back in."
Yeah, but then he's violating the rules. Then.
Well, that's what. So he's now been grounded. But she was the one who started it. For me, she should. If she's got cystitis or something, she should maybe drink some juice to help her.
But they have to be able to go to the toilet. You can't expect to do it in a bucket.
No, pilots are hired for their inability to
Josh
poo.
is hard. You're so
tough.
hardcore,
yeah.
Yeah, 24-hour flights.
She's supposed to arrange a replacement if she goes to the toilet.
Right.
The actual facts, if it's OK to give facts.
I don't want pilots to be squabbling. I don't want them to be fighting while they're flying a plane.
Oh, no, I generally prefer it when my pilot's not having a tantrum. I find it really off-putting.
I think she's
so with you on that.
We in a bucket.
Have we all finally agreed on something? We don't like our pilots having tantrums, yeah?
Well, we got there in the end. The show's nearly over. Let's have another quick look, though, at Wednesday's front pages. So, the Telegraph is leading with Rachel Reeves' U-turn on the dangers of national insurance rise, because she wants to do it. The Independent now, increase national insurance and take on unions. And the Express, time is running out. I need your help to change cruel law. That's Esther Ranson there. The Mail has got now PM engulfed by Swift furore. More on the Taylor Swift tickets there. The Guardian has got ministers vow to end scandal that left thousands of carers in debt. And The Star has a stupid crossword story. That's all we got time for. Thanks ever so much to my guests, Josh, Howie and Kerry Marks. And Simon Evans is going to be hosting tomorrow with Jonathan Cogan and Nick Dixon. And if you're watching the 5 a.m. repeat, stick around because now it's time for breakfast.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Rain for many of us during the rest of the night into tomorrow as well. That rain heavy at times, but it will be very mild because